Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Thursday. It is Thursday. I am here with shadow work. We're going to work on shadow work today, of the Carl Jung variety. I will have some disclaimers before we start that, because, you know, it is shadow work and it can be a little upending, to be honest with you. I've been through several of going through shadow work, and whoo, damn. So anyways, but I want to, while I wait for some of my live people to come on, I don't understand why that is so difficult to just my live people. Like, everybody else is dead, right? No, but you know what I mean. The people that come on live. So let's see what we got here. Ooh, that one kind of flipped over. Let's see. Ooh, I like that one. Ooh, wow. Okay, that's interesting. I know, it's like only one has flown out of the deck. I'm not going to look at that one yet. We'll save that one for last. But I think, well, I don't know, I'm still feeling like there might be one more in this top half. So these are cards I made quite some time ago. And they were just really to pass the time as when I come on and wait for people to come on to the live. But yeah, so some of them are my own quotes, some of them are quotes. Some of them are just, you know, kind of get us rolling, right? So again, I haven't seen this card. I don't know what it is, so hopefully it's a good one. But these are also the cards that I'm using. I say we because, like I said, usually it's alive. But these are also the cards that a couple of them came out on Monday, and it's like, ooh, these are so good that I thought I'm going to turn them into a show, you know, for each day of the week. So, the first one, find your balance, find your light, shine happily like the sun. Find your balance, find your light, shine happily like the sun. I really like this one. So, you know, I picked the sunflower for this because I don't know if this is true or not, but I have seen this when I've gone on walks, that sometimes on a cloudy day I will see two sunflowers facing each other. So, they say that when it's cloudy, the sunflowers, since there's no sun to really look up to, will face each other. And, you know, I have seen them facing each other, but I just figured, oh, you know, maybe they shifted in the soil. But, you know, I tend to think that this is something that's real and something that's true. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think it's also a good reminder that just because it doesn't walk or talk like we do, doesn't mean that it's not a living thing. Doesn't mean that it doesn't have, you know, thoughts and feelings. Because maybe they do. I don't know. I'm not a plant. Never been a plant. Don't ever want to be one because the way people treat them. But I do feel like they communicate in their own way. So, you know, just think about that. You know, I know it's kind of thinking outside of the box and thinking outside of our normal realm of thinking, but, you know, that's the balance, right? So find your balance, find your light, shine happily like the sun. Be a sunflower, be happy. If you can be. I know, I'm just, you know, I say things off the top of my head, but I get it. People struggle. People are dealing with a lot of things in this world. So I guess the best I can suggest, if you're sitting there giving me the middle finger while I'm telling you to be happy, try not to let yourself get too deep into that hole, okay? So, good vibes only. Good vibes only. Of course, crappy vibes happen, so why not start out prepared and ahead of the game? Those are what we call tools in the mental health, you know, the mental health umbrella. When we start feeling something coming on, we grab all these different tools we've learned throughout the years, and to try to get ahead of it, to try to, you know, stop ourselves from spiraling any farther than we have, or digging any deeper than we already have, or going any lower than we already are. Now, that's not always, the tools don't always work. We do our best to make them work, and maybe it'll kind of slow down, you know, the fall, kind of like when a capsule comes back from space, right? I mean, it doesn't just drop out of space into the ocean, because that would not be safe. That would be bad. That would be very detrimental to their health and their life. So there's a parachute. And so kind of think of like these tools as being like a parachute. They're going to slow you down, and they're going to give you that opportunity to just kind of, you know, put the brakes on whatever it is that you're going through. All right. So good vibes are hard, I know, sometimes, and for all the other people out there that are like, yeah, good vibes. So this is your reminder. Just go through today. Hey, it's almost the weekend, right? It's almost Friday. So enjoy. Ooh. Oh. I want to say we had this, but I don't think we have. So, here's Hedwig from Harry Potter. I know, ding, I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I'm a proud geek. Nerds are smart. I'm not a nerd. I mean, I'm smart, but I'm not smart in a lot of, well, never mind. I shouldn't put myself down. So, don't, don't follow by example. Be kind to yourself. Rumi wisdom. Do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come? How do you know that the side you're used to is better than the one to come? Wow. It's been a while since I've seen that card, and I talked about this a little bit the other day, how a lot of times we just get so comfortable in how we deal with things. Like maybe you have had trauma since you were a child, or maybe there are certain ways you were taught how to live, and it may not feel like it feels right to you, but it's comfortable, so you stay there. So then there might be something that pushes you out of this comfort zone that says, hey, let's try this direction and see what happens. And then you might panic, you might freak out, and you might just go like, whoa, put on the brakes, throw that parachute, right? Because you're scared. But then again, do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come? Now, sometimes if you're turning upside down, it could be a cause for worry, because in certain respects, it could mean that, you're spiraling, or you're just falling down that dark hole, or you're walking in through that dark tunnel and can't find your way out. But here's the thing. Keep believing that you are capable. If you're going through a healing journey that is upending you and just like, whoa, you're all, why did I even do this? Just remember that there is a light at the end of that tunnel. And it's not always easy to see, but if you're brave enough to see it, you will find it. So, you know what? I'm sorry. You know why I'm playing with my hair? Because I just realized the lady that cut my hair, it's uneven. Seriously. Oh, so anyways, good morning, older sibling. She kept texting me while I was at the beginning of the show, so I hope she found what she needed. It's okay to say no. No, thank you. So, or says, no, thank you. But it's okay to say no. When we go through these phases in our life, whether we're post-healing or before healing, if you suffer from, whether it's what I call the common people blues, and again, please don't get offended by the term. That's how I describe people who are going through something really kind of deep and dark, but don't fall under the mental health umbrella. Okay. So, or don't fall under it yet, whichever way you want to look at it. So it's not to be offensive, but I want people to know that even if you don't have depression, you do struggle, right? You struggle with grief, you struggle with sadness, anger, happiness, joy. Your good feelings are just easier to hold on to. And because of that, a lot of times, people are just like, yeah, I really don't feel like going anywhere, but maybe you have FOMO, right? You're like, I don't want to miss out, because what if they do something fun? But what if you don't have the energy for it? What if you're just not up to it that day? It's okay to say no. If somebody says, hey, so-and-so, I know you're just getting over a cold, but I'm moving this weekend and nobody else wants to help me. You're going to help me, right? It's okay to say no. Don't worry if they get mad at you. The moment will pass, hopefully. If it doesn't, then that's not somebody you want in your life. All right? Because, you're not feeling well. And that's some nerve, I think, for someone to come and say, hey, come help me, even though, you're not feeling great. Seriously, what kind of friend is that? Yeah, I'm a little judgy. The writer. You are the author of your story. Make it a good story. Lead by example. Lead by example. So, sorry, you're going to see me playing with my hair this whole time. Lead by example. I love to write, and I am terrible at consistency because I'm always worried about something when I write. This is going to sound terrible, but this is a thought that's gone through my head. I told older sibling, I said, now I think I know why some authors drink when they write, because they got to remove that edge to them. You know, they got to remove this layer of uncertainty, this layer of doubt, this layer that says in their head, you can't do this, you can't do this. But the problem is that it can lead to a bad habit, you know. So it's kind of like, ooh, you know. So I mean, just if that is something that you choose to do, exercise caution with it, please. Okay, just exercise a little bit of caution with that. Or just meditate beforehand, you know, and trust yourself. I think if you write, or whatever it is you're doing, whether you paint, you write, or, you know, maybe you do reels and stories and all that, trust yourself. You know, that's why a lot of these people have gone so far and have gathered so many followers, like in the spiritual arena of being like a spiritual warrior, like law of attraction and, you know, just positivity and all that stuff, because they have that confidence. But if you listen to some of their videos, they're like, oh, I didn't start out this way. I just knew that there was a message I wanted to get out there, and this is what I had to do. Baby sibling is the one that actually got me to start doing this show when it was originally called The Daily Vibe, because she says, you know, I see your little posts from time to time, and she's like, you have so much to say and you have so much to offer to this world, you know, and you've gone through so much. I think you should do this. And, you know, and then it's funny because she's like, well, and then I tell her the same thing, and it's like, well, I will, but, you know, and it's like, hey, remember what you told me? Just do it. And so when I first started this, it was kind of like, oh, I was a little nervous. And sometimes I am, you know. On Monday, I was nervous. The last time I took a significant period of time off, which was a couple months ago, I came back for one show and it broke me. I was just kind of like, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to do this. So remember, you are the author of your own story. Make it a good story. Make it a good one. All right. Trust yourself. Have faith in yourself. You know, that was a lot. A lot of info. A lot of 411 there. All right. We have that one card. Oh, Gryffindor. Whoops. It almost fell on the floor. Yeah. I'm a Hufflepuff. But hey, no problem, right? Because we all defend courage, bravery, daring, determination, nerve, and chivalry. So have courage, be brave. This kind of goes with the last card. You know, write your own story. Write your own story. What do you want the world to know? You know, what do you have inside of you that needs to be said that can offer something wonderful to this world? You know, in the day and age we live in, I try not to take too many chances with the things that I say, because some people's minds are way over there and not in a healthy place. They might think it's healthy. They might think it's okay with that. What they're thinking is okay. And if it hurts people, it's not okay. If it damages people or kills people, it is really not okay. Okay. So now you understand why sometimes when I say certain things, I kind of feel like I have to step right in certain areas, because I don't want someone coming on and just randomly seeing the show and going, oh, hey, well, she told me, you know, embrace my inner side. So do not embrace the bad thoughts. When you embrace the bad, now we're going to cover this in shadow work right about now. And this is, you know, when I get to it, I'll talk about it, because it's something I'm not really comfortable with. And so, you know, I'm going to be doing probably a lot of hemming and hawing over it, going like, well, you know, I'm not really sure. So the card I pulled earlier this week was, do the shadow work necessary to heal your soul. Do the shadow work necessary to heal your soul. And I used the Horcrux from Harry Potter. Obviously, I had a Harry Potter deck. I had Harry Potter stickers and hippie stickers. I don't know what else to call the stickers. They were random stickers, but to me, there's a lot of flower child stuff happening in there. So, which is fine, because, you know, I older siblings, like, you know, you really are kind of a flower child now. So I'll take it. Sending out that peace, love, and all that good stuff. But do the shadow work necessary to heal your soul. I really want to stress this hard. Here's my disclaimer for shadow work. If you have never done shadow work, and maybe you've had some serious trauma in your life and you're like, I just want to get better, I just got to do this. Shadow work, from me, in my experience. Now, I know everybody has different experiences. I do have a friend that's doing something very similar to shadow work. They're working with their inner child, and their struggle through this healing process is so hard. They're the ones who actually posted something very similar that said, sometimes the healing is more painful than the trauma. The trauma we have learned to live with. Okay, whatever has happened to you, whatever you struggled with early on. I mean, they do have, there's PTSD, which is usually diagnosing a lot of veterans who come back from, war. 'Cause I mean, that's a lot of mental damage there. But CPTSD is people who've kind of survived their own internal war. Like maybe they had trauma, maybe there was abuse in their family, emotional, physical, sexual, any kind of, abuse. Maybe there was depression that ran in their family and they didn't know how to deal with it, and maybe they got lashed out on. There are all different things that can add to CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress syndrome. And, when we work through it, the triggers can become less and less. That doesn't mean you're going to get rid of it. Everybody is different. So, it's the amount of, it just depends on the situation. Okay. So when I talk about shadow work, this is just kind of the surface. We're just going to touch the surface of this. When I first heard shadow work, I thought it was something very metaphysical, like going into the deep, dark recesses of your mind and blah, blah, blah. Turns out it is a teaching of Carl Jung. And Carl Jung was kind of a mentee of Freud. And, he was like, Freud was his mentor. And in a way, he was a trainee of Freud. But when you read more about him, you find that they were kind of working side by side with a lot of other psychologists. Because, psychology is by Earth standards, I guess, is still new. It was basically discovered in the 19th century, the end of the 19th century with Freud, who kind of brought it to the forefront. Now, that doesn't mean it didn't exist before, but he took it to a whole new level. And then a bunch of people said, oh, he's doing it too. So, and then they get interested in it. And, Carl Jung had a very interesting upbringing. So for him, he and Freud kind of started to differ on the way that they treated people. And I don't mean treated people like how we treat people, but I mean how they, I guess, psychologically treated people, how they tried to help them through a lot of their repressed memories, certain things, and they started to have a disagreement on that. So and that's okay, because there's a lot of different things and a lot of different directions that people come from. So but I personally love Carl. There's something about Carl Jung I just love. And I feel like when I first started reading about him a couple years ago, when I started to do the shadow work for the first time, I felt seen. I felt seen by my therapist, because a lot of this stuff, I am pretty sure that she, based a lot of her therapying skills on Jung, because of she was a specialist in trauma survivors and eating disorders. So that being said, be careful with this, okay? Because when I first started shadow work, I didn't realize it was shadow work. She didn't really call it shadow work. I think she was just trying to toe the line to not scare me and make sure I come back. But when I really started diving in to shadow work on my own, I had several years of therapy under my belt. And so I had these tools that I knew how, to kind of help me pull through. And I had, like I said, I have a very strong support group. So, or group of people that I can lean into when it's just kind of like feeling dark and feeling whatever, because shadow work is going to bring up some unpleasant things, if you're trying to heal something. And it's basically going in without judgment. All right. I'm going to read I did make notes because I want to make this very precise. Okay. So, you can Google shadow work on the internet. But like I said, if you feel fragile at any time, take a moment, take a beat, go for a walk, listen to happy music, watch a funny show, watch a comedy or something, because it can get pretty painful and it can get pretty dark. And personally, it's in my notes right here. Please consider professional help. Please consider professional help. There are numbers you can call, okay, that, they have what they call the suicide hotlines. But they're not necessarily just for that. They're there to listen to you so that you do not take that next step, or you do not consider taking that next step. So shadow work and my previous set of therapy before my therapist now felt like I was broken into pieces, stripped of my skin, and somebody poured or dipped me into alcohol. That's the way I try to explain it to people, because it was painful, it was hurtful, but you know what? I put myself back together. I pieced myself back together. I'm still removing the pieces that don't serve me, because healing is a process. Healing is a process. I'm not sure if we ever really finish healing in our life, but healing is a process. And it's a process that you have to be committed to. It's a process that you have to be all in. I mean, like 101% in, because you can't just quit in the middle. Because if you go in and you bring up all these memories and then you're just like, whoa, I can't deal with them, they're going to sit there and they're going to sit there and they're going to build and they're going to fester. And just like I was talking about, I think it was yesterday or the day before, we were talking about Little Shop of Horrors, right? And how Audrey 2, the little Venus flytrap from outer space, was, how Seymour kept feeding her and feeding her and feeding her. But he was feeding her like blood. Then he was feeding her people. And it's just like, and she got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was destructive. And the reason I wanted to use that is because it might seem cute at first. It might seem like, oh yeah, I can handle this at first. But then it becomes so big that you don't know how to handle it. You don't know how to kind of wrap your head around it. Okay, so just be careful with this. All right, because I want everyone to heal, but I want them to do it safely. I want you to do it safely. I want you to get the help you need, if there is help you need. There is no shame in getting help, because I tell you, there are online things where you don't have to go into a doctor's office, so people won't see you. No one will have any clue. The medical I'm with, my doctor even told me, hey, you know what, if you're not feeling like driving or you don't feel safe driving because you might be in a mood, we can always do your appointment on video. And it's like, oh, I never even thought about video, but I get distracted. I squirrel so easily that I told her, I said, no, being in person, I said, and it's good for me to push myself, to get myself out of the house to go to therapy. So, and I'm kind of past those days right now, most of the time, if I have to cancel now, it's because I have something that's come up at the last minute. So I know that I am progressing, and I know that I'm progressing really well in my healing. So going back over this is kind of a new experience for me. So I know I'm hemming and hawing because I'm nervous about this, and I'm just nervous because I want it to help people, but I remember it's like a little bit of anxiety. Because I remember the first time I went through it, and even the second time. That's why I created. It's not this book, but I did all my journaling in a book like this, and I titled it the feral floof was my first one. Floof is what I named my inner child. So the feral floof was the first one. The next one was like the tamed floof, and then free floof or something. I have the covers here somewhere. I kept all the covers, but I did a bit of a, oh, here they are. So I had, so I don't know where all of them are, but there was one, it was like the feral floof, and then tamed floof, musings of the domesticated floof. What was the other one? Oh, the liberation of floof. I mean, it was just, you have to have fun with it. You have to have fun with it, or it will eat you alive. Oh, Operation Enlightened Floof. That's what it was. Operation Feral Floof. So, I know that shadow work is probably, you're sitting there going, how is shadow work fun? It's not, but that's why you have to go through, or you don't have to, but I suggest giving yourself that safe space. The reason I did it in these notebooks is because, we tend to not want to throw out the pretty journals. And if this is something you just want to write down and either do what they call a burn ceremony, where you stick it on a barbecue and very safely burn it, or put it in water so it just dissipates and it just falls apart, or even just tear it up and throw it away. It's easier to do it with one of those. It's easier to tear the pages out. It's easier to take the spiral off, period. And then just have that pile of papers in your hand for you to decide what you want to do with it. So it's your choice, however you want to pursue this. But let's get rolling because I'm wasting your time by running around in circles. So Carl Jung described the shadow as the repressed parts of ourselves, the parts we find unpleasant or cannot tolerate acknowledging. He said this in 1958. He also said, when we see our shadows in someone else and demonstrating our own traits, we may have strong negative reactions because we, number one, do not want to be associated with those traits, or number two, we may resent that other people can express those sides of themselves when we cannot. Also from 1958. Now, I think part of what they're saying here is simple. When we see somebody acting out, we might be like, oh my God, I can't believe this person, blah, blah, blah. And it might affect us negatively, but not everybody realizes it's because this particular behavior may be in the repertoire of our own mind, our own behaviors, and how we've lashed out, how we've acted, being hurt people, hurting people. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like that terminology because they think, well, hurt people, and you can't heal from it. You can heal from it, but it depends on the pain you're causing. I lashed out a lot. It's not something I'm proud of, but when I was hurting, when I was going through this place before I was able to acknowledge that I had a dinged up mental health, I was this wonderful, happy, joyful, go-lucky person. And when my walls fell apart and my walls came down and just, shattered, I was a horrible person. I would lash out at people, and it wasn't because of them. It was because I couldn't hold this pain down anymore. And one thing would trigger me and poof, that was it. Like Mount Vesuvius, right? Yeah, you saw what I did there. But I would get mad at people when I'd see this, like, oh man, why is this person treating this person that way? Or you watch these TV shows, right? Or you watch these talk shows and these people are like, blah, 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 and you're like, wow, what a bitch. What an asshole. And then you go back and then you start feeling kind of crappy and you realize, oh, whoops. So when that happens, when you start to face these things, do it without judgment, because these are the things you need to heal. These are the things that are coming up, and one day you'll be that person that can express these feelings in a safe environment, in a safe way, because you're trying to heal it and let it go, and let it go. You'll be that person that can let it go and heal it. And like I said, it is not easy, but I know people are like, you're making it seem harder. Why would we want to do it? I'm trying not to sugarcoat it, and I'm being very honest with you. When my friend said I'm doing some inner child work, the first thing I said to her is, be careful. Be careful, because it's going to bring up a lot. And I know she believed me, but boy, when it happened, it's kind of like, wow, So I just want people to be prepared, because if it doesn't get that bad, that's great. But if it does, you're prepared. You're ready. You see what could be happening. You see what might be happening. All right. So, again, please consider professional help if you're going to dive deep into this. So shadow work is a process of exploring and integrating the hidden or repressed aspects of oneself. Here are some tips. So the first staff I got from Psychology Today. Like I said, you can Google shadow work. I would put shadow work Carl Jung, so you don't get all kinds of other stuff. But if you put Carl Jung, Jung, not Young, Jung, Carl Jung. He's Swedish. I think he's Swedish. Going from my hockey experience and the names that start with J that sound like a Y, I'm going with he's Swedish. So, anyways, sorry. Like I said, you got to add the humor in here or you're going to get lost. So shadow work is a process of exploring and integrating the hidden or repressed aspects of oneself. Here are some tips. Again, number 1, create a safe and uninterrupted space for shadow work. So if you're going to dive deep into this, the last thing you need is somebody coming in, knocking on your door, doing whatever and saying, hey, so-and-so, because that might break your train of thought. You may be right there almost figuring out what it is that you need to heal in this moment, and you're getting interrupted. So, close your door, tell people, hey, you know what, I'm doing something very important, but, just if you're worried about what might happen, just tell them, hey, but if, you come up here in like half an hour and I haven't answered, you know, and keep that in mind. So keep that in mind that, you know, you have asked somebody to check on you. So there's no shame in that. Okay. Number 2, meditate and relax before and after each session. Now, they want you to meditate and relax because they want you to open your mind. They want you to clear your mind and kind of get in there and just, you know, give yourself this safe space, almost like floating on water, and giving yourself this this area that, you know, where you can just relax. Afterwards, definitely do that. Do that afterwards. Just kind of sit with your thoughts and let them just kind of dissipate into something and allow that session to be over. It's kind of closing out. It's like opening the session and then closing the session. Okay. And, you know, I know a lot of people say, well, I'm not good at meditating. Just sit there and listen to music. But do something that's not like, don't go on social media. Okay. Because social media is nothing but consistent scrolling and everything. But maybe just sit there and, you know, lay on your bed, listen to your music, and do this before and after. Because like I said, it's about calming down your brain. It's about kind of putting you back into this centered and somewhat balanced area, depending on, you know, how you're rolling through this. Number 3, accept whatever comes up without judgment or resistance. Now, in my trauma healing, there was a lot of things that came up that caused a lot of shame and a lot of guilt, neither of which belonged to me. They belonged to the person that hurt me. And but there was also this part of me that I said felt like an imposter syndrome because, you know, while I did have this, you know, childhood that had this, you know, where the inner child or me as a child was traumatized, I also had a safe space with my parents and my family. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot of, it gets complicated in there. When people say, well, why didn't you say something? Because my parents asked me that. Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you tell us? Well, you know, I was groomed when I was very young, when I was like 4. And, you know, when you're that young, you're starting to become impressionable. You're starting to listen and you start to believe things people tell you, whether it's true or not, because you don't have enough life experience. And even if you're older, you know, that's why they call it grooming, because they're working their way into your psyche so that you trust them over everybody else. And then when they start to lose that trust, they use threats, you know, and there were threats. And so, you know, I told my parents, this is why, and they're all, but you should have known. It's like, no, how would I know? I was a kid, you know, and my dad's like, well, yeah, you know, that's true. You know, how would you know? And so these are things we've talked about, and he's been very open and honest with me, and he's never blamed me. He's even told me, I mean, my mom has since passed away, but it was hard for her to talk about because I feel like she felt she couldn't protect me, and so did my dad. But when I was going through all this, I needed to talk to him to make him understand. And I know it had to be hard for him, right? Because your parents, well, the majority of people in this world, our parents are here to protect us. I do realize that some of these bad things that happen to kids are caused by their parents, and that's certainly not helpful. And I can see how they feel lost. I can see how they feel like they can't trust anybody. I had someone that I could trust. So it was like living 2 separate lives. Okay. So when accept whatever comes up without judgment or resistance, it was hard because I felt like, you know, why am I complaining about this? Because I did have this over here. I had this great thing happening over here, which, you know, growing up felt like it negated this over here. And so I minimized my healing. I minimized the things that happened to me, the horrible, awful, icky, gross things that happened to me. And when I started doing the shadow work, I realized I had to accept these things without judgment or resistance. I had to realize that even though I had this good, you know, set of parents and my family, my family as a whole, that I had to acknowledge that this was something that should never have happened to me. This was not normal. This was not okay. And that was hard for me. That was hard for me to move through that without judgment, without resistance, because it's kind of like, you know, and I had to put myself with everybody else. You know, trauma can be similar and very different for each and every person. But when we get to this place where we're all together in the same room trying to heal, it's the same kind of pains, in my experience, and seeing all the people that I've met and all the different people who've gone through different types of traumas. We're there to heal. We're there to support one another. I found a great support group or support community really on Twitter. That's why I have 2 accounts on Twitter, because I wanted a place to advocate. And then it turns out it really kind of ramped up the true healing that I went through, because I didn't feel alone anymore. And I had someone saying, it doesn't matter what's over here. We you want to heal the thing that's over here. You want to heal the trauma over here, so that you can enjoy the rest of all this other stuff, all those memories, all those great times, without feeling like something dark is coming in behind it. So again, whatever comes up, accept it without judgment and without resistance. All right. Number 4, discover and observe the triggers and patterns in your life. What kind of things set you off? What kind of things hurt you? What kind of things just kind of like make you, like maybe you're watching a TV show and somebody says something, you're like, whoa, and then you find yourself kind of disappearing. And there's that meme, right, with Homer Simpson kind of going backwards into the bushes. You might feel that. You might feel like, whoa, I cannot right now. And that's okay. But write it down. I know you might think, what the hell? Why would I write it down? There are journal apps on your phone. There are apps you can find on your phone. There are note apps on your phone. There are books that you can write things down in. I did this for a while. What are my triggers? It could be a lot of different things. It could be a lot of different things. And you may just be like, how was that a trigger that I never noticed? But you may have noticed it. You didn't realize, but you may not have realized that it was your trigger. So I know a lot of times, this is one of the reasons why I do my best to advocate for, mental health acceptance of mental health, to end that stigma, to make sure people who need to get that help. I'm not sitting there going, oh yeah, you're super healthy, go to therapy. No, of course not. Why would you go to therapy if you're doing okay? If you're doing great. I mean, therapy is a place for people to talk things through in a safe, unbiased place. And they may not tell you what you want to hear, but, in order to work through with them, you have to work with them to work through things. And I know that can be hard, but yeah, I'm not going to tell someone to go to therapy that doesn't need to go to therapy. No, I'm not running some kind of thing here. It's all about, healing. It's all about healing. It's all about healing and moving into a place where you can, as they say, live your best life. I have a friend that's not particularly fond of that quote, because usually when you see someone saying that, it's like, around a rented yacht that they're acting like their own. And maybe it is in some cases. But, I know somebody who I believe owns their own private jet, and I never see them hashtagging living my best life. Maybe living a great life, having fun, but they're not sitting there bragging about it. It's like they're not taking a picture of it and going, yeah, living my best. No, they're traveling and doing all these wonderful, wonderful things, and just saying, oh, so excited to be here, so excited to be there. And, but when it's something fake because people need to get attention, you got to work on that. All right. Why do you need attention so bad? I think we all need attention. I need attention. Yeah, I'm an only child, so, it's that goes without saying. But I wasn't one of the typical only children. I got in trouble. I got grounded. All right, but who are you going to blame? Who am I going to blame? Right? So, like I said, I know, sorry, off topic. Again, number 4, discover and observe the triggers and patterns in your life. So if somebody's doing something and it starts annoying the shit out of you and you can't understand why, and then you kind of get into this place where you just kind of maybe start to spiral and you feel yourself going backwards and backwards and backwards, that could be your trigger. If somebody says something about a specific thing, or you're watching a TV show and somebody brings up something you've been through, maybe on a talk show, or maybe someone's watching one and you happen to go through the room, or maybe it's a movie or just whatever it is, and that suddenly makes you feel like, that your stomach just dropped out, from the middle of your body into your feet, that's probably a trigger. So it's hard to learn our triggers and patterns. It took me a while. But once you heal it, it's an amazing feeling. It's crazy amazing, because you're waiting for, like, you walk through a room and you hear something and you realize, whoa, my tummy didn't drop to my feet. wow, I must be healing. But remember, healing is like an onion. There are many layers. You may come back to the same thing over and over and over again. And when you do that, don't think that it's because you're not healing. Notice where you're at when it cycles back around. You know, this is my 4th time talking about shadow work and actually doing shadow work, because I am actually in the process of doing it right now. Not with my inner child, but my inner teenager. It was funny because on a side note, I told baby sibling this yesterday. I said, yeah, I'm going to start working on my inner teenager because I realized she had to deal with the fallout of my inner child. And there were parts of this healing that I never did because I thought, oh, well, you know, your inner child's healed, everything's healed. No, it's not. There was this angsty teenager. And like I said yesterday, the shadow work I'm doing now is linear to my already being healed. So these are just things I'm coming back in and putting the finishing touches on, right? Like you have an artist of any medium. You know, I mean, a writer doesn't just go and turn in their book. You know, they make the touches, or somebody comes back to them and says, hey, can you change this a little bit? Can you do this, that, and the other to it? And they add their finishing touches. An artist might look at something and say, ooh, I'd like to add that, right? Bob Ross was great because if he made a mistake, he turned it into a cloud or a tree or a mountain. You know, he knew how to fix the mistakes but he gave it that touch up. So this is what I'm doing now. So like I said, my healing is linear to me having already healed a lot of this trauma. I'm just kind of closing, you know, tying up loose ends, if you will. I'm putting the finishing touches on this healing journey. So yeah, so again, discover your patterns and your triggers. And when you do that, go back to number 3, where it says, accept whatever comes up without judgment or resistance. Okay, you may have, you know, moments where you're going to have to apologize for your past behavior. And I shared that with somebody on somebody's post on Twitter. Can't remember who. And I just remember saying, oh yeah, that was me. That was totally me. And it was weird because they thanked me for being so honest, because most people aren't. But I know from my healing, I had to be honest because I know I was that hurt person that hurt people. And I didn't like her. And sometimes she starts to try to rear her ugly head and it's like, oh, no, you don't. And so that's kind of noticing your pattern or your trigger too. And that usually happens when something kind of upends me or scares me. Because, you know, sometimes we do get stuck in these comfort zones. So, you know, when we get stuck in these comfort zones, we got to figure out how to move through them and move out of them. All right. So that we can heal. Number 5, journal, dialogue, or meditate on your shadow aspects. Now, I'm not sure, you know, I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure how meditating on your shadow aspects really help, because it already tells you up here, you know, meditate and relax before each session. So, that's up to you to meditate on your own shadow aspects. I journal about mine currently. This is my journal and it's almost done, but I have tons of finished journals laying around this room. And when they say dialogue, they could mean like, you know, recording it. So we all have that app on our phone where we can record things and we can talk about it. But meditating, that's up to you. Maybe that works for you. Maybe that's, you know, how can I fix this shadow thing if I think about it more? I don't know. Maybe I'll try the meditation part. But if that doesn't work for you, or you're going to be this person that insists that you are not good with meditating, meditating may take practice. It took me a long time to get the hang of it. I'm not very good at it still because I don't do it consistently. But when I have done it consistently, I've nailed it. It doesn't have to be like you see in the movies. It doesn't have to be like you see on YouTube or on TV. You can just sit in a quiet place, you know, with your headphones on. There are guided meditations all over YouTube. Okay, pick the good one that fits you and let them talk you through this. So until you get the hang of meditating. But all meditating really is, to me, in my personal opinion, is just relaxing in a comfortable position. And a lot of times they'll tell you not to lay down because you might fall asleep. That's why I have to sit up. But the problem is I can fall asleep sitting. I can fall asleep anywhere. Okay. But I do have a tendency to fall asleep if if I'm too comfortable. So, but, you know, keep your spine straight for your chakras if that's something that you're into, and just clear your mind. Clear your mind. listen to some background music, listen to the binaural beats with the music. Nothing with lyrics, I would suggest, just something calm, instrumental, and focus on something in there if you have to. Focus on maybe there's a piano. Focus on the piano player and the keys or the strings or the harp or whatever might be in there that you're listening to, because that will help you clear your mind, because you do have a focus, you have a point of focus, and that will help you clear your mind. All right. So number 6, this is the one that I've been struggling with. All right. Challenge your conscious goodness and embrace your dark side. I added something onto that, and I will read that in a second, but this is the part that bothers me, that I was kind of talking about earlier, because the last thing I want is for someone to embrace their dark side and say, oh, hey, this is okay, and I'm going to go out and hurt a bunch of people. No, that's not what they're talking about. When they say embrace your dark side here, they're talking about accepting whatever comes up without judgment or resistance, which is all the way back at number 3. So 3 and 6 to me kind of go together. You're accepting whatever comes up without judgment or resistance. And the reason they want you to embrace it is because that's how you're going to heal it. You are going to acknowledge that this is something that is in your life. You're going to acknowledge that this is something that's probably hurt you, caused you pain, caused you grief, caused you all different kinds of things. It's not saying go out and hurt somebody. It's saying go within and heal this so that it doesn't hurt you anymore, or so that it's less painful, or gets less and less painful, or gives you the opportunity to move away from it without ignoring it, but instead setting it free in love. That sounds dumb, but go in love. Go in love when it comes to this stuff. Once you heal it, let it go. Let it go. I struggle with letting things go because, like I said, I get stuck in my comfort zones. And that's why I'm working on my inner teen, because I'm really trying not to. And it's not just my inner teen. I'm kind of going through each decade and trying to heal the parts of it that don't serve my life anymore, that kind of all tie together to keep me stuck and to keep me in that comfort zone. Because I'm ashamed. Well, I'm not ashamed to say this, but I'm embarrassed to say this. I kind of live my life with a lot of fear. Afraid that, oh, well, what if I'm not good enough at this? Or what if I'm not good enough for somebody? I mean, I really think that's why I'm single, because I constantly put out to the universe and to my higher powers, well, I'm not perfect, so nobody will want me. And yet I have all my cousins sitting here trying to set up dating profiles before me without me knowing. I had to stop 2 of them. I mean, they were going to set me up on this site called BritishGuys.com. I was like, really? I don't even live there. But I know that's their thing. That's their thing. I mean, they were trying from every single angle. I had a cousin, one of my cousins who's one of the same ones, actually set me up on a profile, and then told me and gave me the password. And it's like, girl. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, that's terrible. That's horrible. No, that's how they show me they love me. And that's how they show me that they believe that I'm good enough for somebody, that I'm amazing enough for somebody. And I have to do that. But I mean, I live my life in a lot of fear. And sometimes my fear projects out into my surroundings. And so there's a lot of work to be done. And that's why I'm doing this, kind of extra credit shadow work, because I need to figure out why, and I need to put an end to it, because I got to nip it in the bud so that I can go off and live this great life, wonderful life, and with whoever sweeps me off my feet. So anyways, I'm going to reread this again, but I'm going to reread it with what I've added to it. So challenge your conscious goodness and embrace your dark side, and then forgive it, and then heal it with acceptance and love. So forgive it, then forgive it and heal it. Sorry, I mixed those 2 words up. So yeah, challenge your conscious goodness and embrace your dark side, then forgive it and heal it with acceptance and love. And if you struggled with trauma and you feel like maybe you were a participant in it, that a lot of people go through that. A lot of people feel like, oh, well, I didn't stop it after a while, and because you think it's normal. A lot of people think that the trauma they have been through in their life was normal until somebody comes along and says, no, it was not. And then that's where the shame and guilt comes in. You were not responsible for the bad thing that happened to you. You are not responsible for somebody grooming you, someone hurting you without your permission. And I don't mean you would give someone permission to hurt you, but I'm trying to be sensitive in the way I say these things. You're not responsible for your trauma. Somebody hurt you. Somebody stole the best parts of you and hid them and locked them away somewhere inside of you. And that's what the shadow work does. It's you going on this Indiana Jones adventure into your own mind and trying to find what it is, you know, that that works, you know, that. And I mean, I don't know if this is the best example to give, but in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, they're on the crusade looking for the chalice that Jesus used during the Last Supper, right? And Indiana Jones picks the right one, you know, and I don't want to give anything away. I mean, come on. This movie's like 30, 40 years old, but, you know, they are good movies. And you know, with the new one having just come out and people might want to binge it, they may not have. And all the new kids out there, right? You know, the ones who haven't been introduced to the wonderful awesomeness of Indiana Jones. But he picks the right one. And if you've ever seen the movie, you'll understand that it's not always the super flashy thing that that we should be looking for. Sometimes it's the simple and just the simple thing inside of us that might need to be healed. And it may not feel simple, right? I mean, it may seem simple when we see it and go, why does that need to be healed? Well, that's the same thing with my inner teen and my inner early 20s girl. It's like, well, why does that bother me? You know what? I was old enough to know better by then. Everything had stopped by then. But there are parts that need to be healed. There are parts, well, no, it happened to me twice when I was 17. But I nipped that in the bud. I found my voice and I was able to say something, but still, I didn't say anything to anybody else. I just said it to the person, and it's just like, you better not, because I'm over it. I'm done. I will tell somebody if you do this again. And fortunately that worked and it never happened again. But I didn't realize how much that needs to be healed too until talking about it just right now. Because even though I found my voice, I still lost my voice because it's like, why does this keep happening to me? And I don't have the answer for that. And I will never have the answer for that. And that's something that I have to heal by allowing myself to accept the fact that I will never have the answer for that. So when you do dive into that dark side, be careful, please. When it says embrace your dark side, embrace that dark side to heal it, to, forgive it. And forgiving it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. But you may be in a situation where you feel, oh, well, I was responsible for this. I could have done that. I could have done this. I could have done that. And, just sometimes even though we shouldn't have to forgive ourselves. Sometimes it's easier to do that and just say, you know what? It's okay. I forgive you for being so hard on yourself. I forgive you for, putting yourself down. I forgive you for, I forgive myself for putting myself down. I forgive myself for thinking bad things about me. I forgive myself for, shaming myself when I didn't have to, or feeling guilty about things that I didn't have to. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I'm still getting over my cold. I think that helped. And of course, my box of Kleenex is empty. Figures. Anyway, I'm about done anyway. So, just, you see, I know personally, having talked for just almost an hour, that this is something that's triggering me, and it might seem stupid because you're like, yeah, but Shelly Marie, you're getting over a cold. Well, my cold is gone. All of a sudden it's like my body is kind of reacting, and it's reacting to me. And for me, I'm a person who personally believes that your body can react physically to trauma. When you're going through your triggers and your patterns, a lot of people feel it. They have that anxiety, they tighten up, they stress out. But for me, It's like something always tries to keep me from talking. If I'm going deep into something, or I'm going deep into something I know can help me or help somebody else, for some reason I always start choking. I mean, I could choke on air, okay? Because this has happened when I haven't had it, the end of a cold. So, just that's how I know some of my triggers. So there you go. That's kind of an example of triggers and patterns, because I know I need to forgive myself for these things, and I realized I never have. Look, me preaching to the masses and not following my own advice. Shame on me. But not shame on me. This is how we learn. All right. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. You get to make the choice. When it comes to healing, you get to make the choice. Baby Sibling gave me the best quote ever. It's all in the power of a choice. It's right above my computer. I keep it there. But it's all in the power of a choice. And it really is. It's all in the power of a choice. You get to make that choice. No one can force you into doing something. No one can force you to heal. No one can force you to figure out any of these things that we've just read off. It's a choice that you have to make. Okay? So again, have a great, great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public. I may or may not do an oracle tomorrow. I know, it's been a while, hasn't it? But I might. I don't know. We'll see, because we still have this last card that I need to cover. I know. I'm just giving you the preview. But yeah, but back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public under the Aloha perspective. If you're watching this when I share it to my page, my actual closed off Facebook page, so for all of you who watch from there, come over to the Aloha perspective and follow me, because the lives are there now. If you do not get a chance to see the live, I do post them to YouTube, so you can click subscribe, notification, all those wonderful things, so you'll know when the video does go up. And I do a shorter version of this on TikTok. Since this is kind of a deep subject, I will not be doing this one on TikTok. All right, so but I'm gonna talk about the power of the choice and healing over there. All right. So again, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, please, please take care of yourselves, and don't be afraid to heal. Okay. And don't shame yourselves. Embrace yourself in love. Go in love. Go in love through this healing, because that is the one thing that I think they forget to tell you when you start to dive in deep. And when you go in love, it may or may not be easier. I mean, not super easy, but if you come at it from a place where you're healing because you want the best for you, it might feel a little different. So I don't know. If you do that, let me know. I'm curious. Okay. So again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.